Sean P Diddy Combs has now been denied bail. He is not going home. He's going back to the federal detention center that he has been in for the last 9 months. The judge said that prosecution was correct in quoting the section of the Bail Reform Act that requires him to remain in custody until sentencing. Cassie's team actually wrote a letter to the judge stating that they believed he should be where he is, remain in prison until his sentencing hearing, as well as the stylist who testified. He was a witness that saw Cassie and Diddy in the fights and saw Diddy beating up Cassie. Now, the judge said Combs basically has a propensity for violence that often takes place behind closed doors. And he outlined the reasons he denied bail. He said Combs has engaged in a year-long pattern of violence, years long, and continues to be unable to follow the law. He said Ventura's 2016 beating caught on hotel security cameras was without question an act of domestic violence. And he said violence is violence. His defense team was actually quoted as saying, typically these charges were for people like pimps who are making money off sex workers, and that's not the case here. His defense team went as far as calling him a self-respected businessman. He was quoted as saying, he's a self-respected businessman who has earned the court's trust. He said his client has met all the court's orders and should be allowed to post bail while he awaits sentencing. He said he's shown a drive to meet the case head on, honorably, like a self-respecting businessman like he is. While the defense's own language came back to haunt them today in court, the judge actually noted what they had said in closing arguments, saying that Combs' attorney conceded to the jury that there was violence in this case. His attorney said in their opening and closing arguments that Combs was guilty of domestic violence, but that his offenses did not meet the bar of racketeering or sex trafficking. The judge wasn't having any of it. He said bail is denied, and he set a sentencing hearing for October 3rd at 10:30 a.m., but he said he was willing to move that up if defense wanted to. Defense, of course, did want to move it up and said that they were actually willing to waive the pre-sentencing hearing, but then prosecution said absolutely not. He said there was too much to go over to cancel a pre-sentencing hearing, so they are going to meet Tuesday, July 8th, with the prosecution, defense, and the judge over video to discuss what exactly is going to happen and when they can find a date for sentencing. The judge also acknowledged that there's a great divide here between what prosecution wants and what defense wants. He said that he's going to schedule this remote conference for Tuesday to try and clear some of that up. But right now, Combs' team is seeking a term of 21 to 27 months, so around 2 years, and prosecution wants 51 to 63 months, which is around 5 years. Combs looked completely distraught when he heard that bail was denied. He really thought he was going home. He put his head down. He had his hands in his lap. He was totally discouraged at this point. Once this was over and he was going to say goodbye, he actually turned around, blew kisses back 2 rows to his family and said, "I love you all, be strong." And then just before being let out of the courtroom, he turned around, looked at his mom and said, "I love you, stay strong." Once the judge left, his attorney, Mark Agnifilo, turned around and said to Diddy's supporters in the courtroom, he'll get his life back. Winning is winning. You live your life and you live a good life. When his family left the courtroom, they were very silent, very somber. The women were holding hands and they just went straight to the van and left. Now, his team, when they exited, his defense did have something to say to the media. They said, it's a great victory for Sean Combs. It's a great victory for the jury system. You saw that the Southern District of New York prosecutors came at him with all they had. One thing stands between all of us and a prison, and that is a jury of 12 citizens. Tenny Garagos also thanked Combs for assembling a dream team of attorneys, as well as the jury for the hard work that they put in every day of the trial. She said, "As I said in my opening, standing between all of us and the drastic consequences of the criminal convictions of sex trafficking and RICO is a jury of our peers." She added that Combs has not sexually assaulted anyone and that the media has gotten it wrong about Combs for nearly 2 years. Combs is facing multiple civil lawsuits brought on by plaintiffs who did not testify during this trial because that is a separate situation, but the threshold for civil cases is much lower. There's a preponderance of evidence, it's called, and it's much lower than the beyond a reasonable doubt that you get in a criminal case. So now we wait. It looks like October 3rd is the date set as of now, but Tuesday that date should be changing. I will definitely keep you updated, so make sure you hit follow.